Yo, 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 what up, though? It's Chris Platte of the Rap Cave podcast, tapping in for a discussion on classic albums. But before I get to that, please like, comment, share, subscribe, help this channel grow. We are building a community here at the Rap Cave podcast where we give you everything you want. We are covering all angles of hip hop, giving you a whole bunch of different voices, doing weekly episodes, as well as side quest mission like this. I want to get more of these off while continuing to do the main weekly episodes that you guys see. So shout out to the whole team. They will be on the next episode. But for now, this is just a one-off talking about classic albums. Let's get into it. I saw a lot of conversation about GNX. Is it a classic? Is it not a classic? Where are we at with this one? And it got me thinking because my favorite conversations are classic albums, right? I love going through classic albums, asking what's the worst classic album, to establish a baseline for a classic album. Whole bunch of discussions around that. But one I noticed is I went back and I looked. We're 5 years into the 2020s. Obviously, this year isn't over yet, but we're about halfway through what is the 2020 decade of music. And I wanted to just look at the simple question of, okay, how many classics do we have in the 2020s so far? So I picked out 5. Maybe you guys will disagree, let me know. But to me, these are the 5 unequivocal classics of the decade in hip hop. You have Donda by Kanye West, My Turn, Lil Baby, Call Me If You Get Lost, Tyler the Creator. Sometimes let's do it. So look, I went through all my notes, went through all of the years of all the albums I listened to so far this decade, and I picked out 5 that I believe are universal classics. And then from there, I know there's going to be some other ones that I'll mention. But to me, these are the 5 classic albums that exist right now in the 2020s in hip-hop music. Donda by Kanye West. Gen X by Kendrick Lamar. Sometimes I Might Be Introvert by Lil Sims. Call Me If You Get Lost, Tyler the Creator, and My Turn, Lil Baby. So, again, maybe some people will disagree. Pick that list apart. That's fine. But then I went back and I said, okay, well, we're 5 years in. We got what I believe is 5 hip-hop classics. And I know people are going to make the cases for other albums like Chromacopia, The Forever Story, maybe Alligator Bites Never Heal by Doechii, maybe We Don't Trust You, Future and Metro. There's definitely a lot of albums that will kind of be floating in that is it a classic range. But after doing that, I went back to the 2010s and said, all right, from 2010 to 2015, what are the classic albums that we got? What are the classics that we know for sure are classics? And so I did Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, both by Kendrick Lamar, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Kanye West, Take Care, and Nothing Was the Same by Drake, Watch the Throne, Kanye and Jay-Z, Yeezus, and then from there, My Crazy Life and Dirty Sprite 2. And if you want to throw in some debatables, you could throw in Yeezus. You can throw in some mixtapes. Like If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, Section 80, Acid Rap, Monster, Dream Chasers. I mean, these are all big projects. Obviously, the Dat Piff era was a big thing in the early 2010s. But if you look at that, there's a lot more classics. There's a lot more classics in 2010 to 2015 than you have now for me. Because you could definitely take my list and argue it down to 4 or 3. You could take that list and maybe you can knock off a couple of those surefire names that I named. But the question ones are the question ones. The debatables are the debatables. But the ones I named, again, Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Take Care, Nothing Was the Same, Watch the Throne, and My Crazy Life and Dirty Sprite 2. A lot more. So to me, I went with what are the reasons? What are the reasons that we are not getting classic albums with what seems to be the same frequency? Now, the obvious answer is time, right? We got to let these projects age. We got to see how they feel. But looking back at a lot of those I think were pretty well regarded as instant classics. I don't think it took long for them to realize. Just like I don't think it takes long to realize that GNX is a classic. It's obviously a big moment, obvious commercial success, very well received critically. So it checks all of the boxes that a classic album would need. And sometimes it happens faster than others. Others are a slow burn. So I don't necessarily think it's just a matter of time. Now, could some of those forever stories, chromacopias, end up evolving into a classic? Perhaps, but I don't particularly count on it, nor do I know for a fact that it's going to happen. So looking back at it, here's the three things I came up with. First and foremost is lack of artist development. And this is just a music industry thing. Music industry has moved away from hip hop recently and moved into the Latin scene and a lot of the Indian alternative scenes, as well as just pushing and manufacturing pop stars. And they're just not doing that for hip hop. In fact, the one person that you want to argue is manufactured in Doechii, and while I don't mean that to say she is an industry plant, but someone that clearly has a push by the industry, half of hip-hop hates her. So I think that there's definitely a pushback. And look, they're not going to make hip-hop stars unless it's lightning in a bottle. And when it was like Doechii, again, half of hip-hop media has their problems, calls her an industry plant, says she doesn't deserve the accolades that she's getting, says it feels forced, all of that. So the one person that they are kind of pushing in terms of a new star in hip hop is getting pushback. But yeah, they're just not developing artists. And that's a clear issue because look at the names that I named in that. Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Kanye, Future. Those were all guys with albums, multiple albums or bodies of work before that classic album. So they had the time to develop. They had the industry support, the music industry backing. So much of this is a business at the end of the day. And people just like the music. And if they like it, they like it. And yes, that's a big part of it. But to get the music that you like, it takes the support. It takes the A&Rs that are being let off at an alarmingly high rate in hip hop. It takes everything that it takes. It takes the producers. It takes just capturing a moment, a great marketing team. It takes a lot to build a classic album. A lot of those classic albums didn't come out of nowhere. None of those albums I named were albums that just popped up out of nowhere. And same with the 2020s. Like, you want to argue Lil Sims has an extensive body of work before Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. Lil Baby, My Turn, that's probably the quickest one, but guess what it comes off of? It comes after Drip or Drown with Gunna, where that we all knew he was a superstar at that point. Kendrick, GNX, obviously he's been developed. Kanye West, Donda, obviously developed. These are artists that are not, this isn't just their debut album. This isn't just their first project. And a lot of times debut albums aren't even debut albums anymore. So I think that the lack of artist development is a very, very central factor when it comes to not having as many hip-hop classics this decade as we had the first half of last decade. And again, this could change with the coming years, but that to me is a very key point. Another one is just flat out these artists aren't incentivized by the music. They're incentivized to be a brand now. You see a lot of these artists and they build their buzz off of music, and then they take it to be something else, whether it is to be a streamer or someone in the content creating space or someone in the fashion space. You see that now a lot of this is about brand as opposed to music. And that's not me being old and sounding like a purist. I'm not trying to do that. But if you just look at the facts, these people are incentivized because of the outrageous stream pays, because of the music industry being structured the way it is, where the top is eating off of all of your royalties and everything, you're incentivized to make your money elsewhere. And look, that's what the other generations of hip hop did before this generation. Jay-Z, Kanye West, Dr. Dre, all of these artists that are, billionaires or multimillionaires is because of not their music, but they leverage their music into other business opportunities. That's why I always said, like when 444 dropped way back when on my podcast, I said, look, we got to be kind of appreciative that Hov is even giving us an album. And not to say that we should just give it a good rating because it's a Jay-Z album and we should be grateful for him to give it to us. But no, we should be grateful that someone of his caliber, that a small portion of his money now comes from music. A lot of it is his other businesses. So the fact that he took the time to craft that body of work that he cared deeply about, I think it's pretty cool. And I hope sets a trend for artists going forward. I just think these artists aren't incentivized to make music like that. And now we're seeing a lot of these artists after their second or third album, they're just taking some collection songs from the vault and giving them to their fans, and that's keeping their name going and allowing them to keep their brand hot. And again, it's about branding. And I'm not knocking it. Look, if you're getting paid shit money, for your talents, and you can leverage it to go elsewhere and get more money where you get more of a slice of the pie, who am I going to sit here and criticize you and be like, no, you should make the music for us? Fans aren't even buying music anymore. They're streaming it. So I can't be mad at them for making the smart business opportunity. What, am I going to tell them to stay there and get ripped off? No. But unfortunately, this is the cost. This is the cost of not treating artists well, of the music industry not treating, in particular, hip-hop artists well, is that you're losing a lot of these hip-hop artists to other avenues of success or to other avenues of financial revenue. And then the last thing I think, too, is that hip-hop is a great landscape. It's a great landscape full of talent. There's a lot of amazing, interesting things. I love covering all angles of it. But we've seen with Twitter, with YouTube hip-hop media space, we've seen a lot of people now kind of be able to craft their own world. These audiences, these consumers, myself, you watching this video, everybody is able to craft their own world. They're able to find the people that they want to listen to musically, find the people that say the things they want to say about this album, or they want to hear about this album or artist, and it creates their own echo chamber. And it feels like something is a world. Like, to me, it feels like a big deal when a Freddie Gibbs comes out. And yet you step outside of my world, step outside of my bubble, and none of my friends that like rap but aren't following it every week like I am, okay, I'll get to it when I get to it. Cool. Nas dropped another album? Great. It's like everybody's able to create their own world of what they want in hip hop and just in music in general, in life in general too. I mean, we're seeing that with politics, with everything, with sports. You're able to find the exact world that you want to live in. You're able to create in these social media platforms. They create this algorithm that just feeds exactly what you want it to have or what they want you to have. That's a whole nother discussion. But I think that's a big thing. Look at artists like NBA Youngboy and Rod Wave. Those are superstars in my eyes because the numbers they do are impressive. But even me, as somebody that covers hip-hop, that listens to everything, it's like even some of their projects can fall by the wayside for me. And I'm looking at every single drop this week, but it can be hard to keep up with all of their drops because of not only the frequency of it, but again, they're just going direct to consumer. They found their audience and they are just going to deliver to that audience, and the new fans that they gain along the way, cool, great. But NBA YoungBoy Rod Wave don't need a new fan at all for the next 7 years, for the next 10 years, 15 years. They could continue to serve their fan base. And just eat off of that and be totally fine. And so I think that a lot of artists, are able to just do that. Shout out to Justin Hunt. One of the things way back when I was in college and I got the chance to speak to him, one of the things the company man told me was, hey, there's riches and niches. If you could carve out that lane that, enough people care about, you're good. You're golden. And fast forward, all this time later, and now we're looking at a situation where everybody has created their own world. It's really kind of amazing the foresight he had on that. But yeah, it's something that we see now. We see everybody creating their own world. The consumers are creating their own world because there's so much content out there, and there's so many people able to do this. There's so many people like myself able to get a setup and then get a microphone, talk into a camera, upload it, and now potentially the whole world can see this, or just a finite group of people. Like, there's just so much content out there that consumers can pick and choose both the music they listen to and the media they consume. It's not just you have to go to this news station at this time, this publication. Like, it's not that way anymore. So that's what I think about the classic albums. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the classic album discussion. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, help this channel grow, and let me know what are some classic albums of the 2020s. What's the next album you think coming out that will be a classic? Is it going to be The Fall Off? Is it going to be Drake's solo album? Is it going to be something else? Let me know in the comments below. I am Chris Platte of the Rap K Podcast. Again, like, comment, share, subscribe, help the channel grow. Peace out. We'll see you on the next one.